Hi, I want to walk you through a couple things with the university library just in case you haven't seen this before. If you have, you can bear with me or skip this, but here are some quick tips for using our library. Bear in mind that our sources for these papers have to come from the university library. So if you log in, this is my instructor view. I'm guessing that your student view probably looks similar and you can see what courses you're involved with right now. If you click on the library tab, hopefully it's somewhere like this, but that'll open up our library and there will be some different links for our different resources at this university. But the university library here, that link will open up. You could just do a general search, but what's better is if you did a database search with specific databases, because there are some that are going to be more helpful to you than others, and this will narrow down the number of resources that you have to wade through. The other thing is that bear in mind these databases are subscriptions that the university pays a lot of money to subscribe to, and they are the same quality of research and type of research that students at Harvard and Yale are getting. So please, by virtue of you being a student here, you have access to this, and this is no joke. This is so much better than Googling. Please don't Google search. So my favorites are either EBSCOhost is a platform of several different databases. You can do a general EBSCOhost search in all the databases that are part of that platform. That's a good one. Another good one would be JSTOR. JSTOR is another good comprehensive one that has a wide variety of subject matter that it covers, And ProQuest is another one. ProQuest is another platform. There are several ProQuest databases that are narrowed down by subject, but if you just did a general ProQuest search in ProQuest, for our purposes, we're going to do this. I'm going to show you. I did this already, so it's pre-filled my search thing here. We want scholarly journals for our papers. We don't want books. You're not going to read through books. We don't need videos and audios for our purposes. And dissertations and master's thesis papers are written by students. We don't want those. We also don't want to deal with magazines and newspapers and trade journals and blogs. So let's just go with scholarly journals. For my purposes, I'll show you full text. We could also click on peer reviewed. I'm going to show you how this narrows that down. If I just used arts education as a search term, let's say I'm defending keeping arts education in the school system. I could try any number of combination of search terms here. If this doesn't give me what I want, I'm going to change this up and I'm going to search again. And I'm going to search again and search again. Whatever types of terms you want to use is, that's going to change it. So I have 410,000 results. I'm going to actually need peer-reviewed results. So let's narrow this down further. So there are 374,000. That's still way too many. So let's also narrow this down by date. So probably the last 5 years is sufficient. We'll go the last 10 years just to see. Now we have 200,000. That's still too many. Let's go by language. I only want to look at the English sources, so that will narrow that down. It says 210. We can pick various subject matter. Maybe I just want to look at education. So now that'll take it down a lot, 10,000. And there are lots about teaching art in the school district. You can wade through this. 10,000 sources is still a lot. You could also filter it further by the United States. So we only want to look at studies that have been done in the United States, maybe. This second one here is actually a really good article. I looked at this a minute ago. So this is called Arts Education as a Vehicle for Social Change. And it's a study about K-12 arts programs. But if we click on that title, it opens up this. And this is an HTML version, they say, right? So we're going to scroll through the whole article, but it's highlighted anytime that those words have come up, my search words. But actually we want to look at the PDF version. If you can find the PDF version of an article, it's so much better because the PDF is exactly how it looks if it was copied out of the publication itself. So we know where every page begins and ends. What's page 62, what's page 63, what's page 64. And this is a long article, and it is set up much like any other long journal article. And that can be daunting, and don't let that be daunting to you or intimidating. An abstract is like a summary. We don't want to quote from the abstract, but that'll give you a good idea of what this article is going to be about. And this particular article talked about how arts education encourages students to think about their own culture, and it is very encouraging in promoting social change and confidence in one's culture, and how that applies to all the other things that student might be into or able to learn about themselves or their own education. So the abstract kind of talks about what they want to do with the study. They have some background. They have a literature review, so they tell you what other studies have been done in the past, and that's fine. We can usually skim through a lot of that. What matters is who was studied, who were these students, how many people were involved, where did this happen? That's why it's usually best to talk about what's happening in the United States, because typically your arguments in your papers are going to talk about what you're trying to argue is going to happen here. So unless you're advocating for change in another country, it's really helpful that your research that you're finding has to do with the country you're talking about. So probably the topics that you chose had to do with change in the United States or something you were going to argue about in the United States. So that's why I narrowed that way. What did they find? Sometimes this is full of charts and graphs. Toward the end, it finally gets to results. And in this case, they called it conclusions. This is what they found overall, and what they decided was relevant. They'll talk about maybe where it was limited or what they would do in the future if they were to run the study again. What would they change? And they also list a bunch of references, and those are the other studies that have been done that are similar, that they used as examples or to help frame their study. So here's one article I think is great. I say I'm going to use this in my paper. A handy little tool they have here is called Cite right here. This actually pops up with whatever format you use. As a university, we've picked the most recent version of APA. University of Phoenix, the whole university, all our courses should, at least in undergraduate, use APA. So if you're not particularly confident about APA, you can use this at least as a starting point, and you could literally cut and paste this into your works cited at your references page, and make sure it's formatted properly and double spaced. And this one looks pretty good. Occasionally there are errors because they're inputted by humans. Sometimes things aren't capitalized right, or they're not the right things aren't italicized, but this one actually looks really good. So that's super helpful. Another thing that's helpful is maybe you find a really great article and you're like, I can't find anything like this. Again, this one has some other related items. It says that we also subscribe to these databases that hold these articles, and so you could do that. You could run news searches, and you could also try to find the articles that this particular one cited. So on its references page, wait, where are they? Any of these, you might read through, and there might be some titles that sound like they would be similar, and you could try to find these yourself. So we don't want to cite this article citing these guys. We want to cite them ourselves. But at the same time, they, could lead us in more directions to find more. Obviously, for our papers, we need, I think it's 2 or 3 different articles. Maybe 3 different articles. For some of your future papers, you might need 10. So where are you going to find 10 articles? Sometimes this will help you to find related ones, to, again, do a different search, maybe do an advanced search where you're combining terms in a different way. You could add rows. You could combine 3 different terms. A particular grade level, a particular art, performing art. Maybe you're talking about music classes instead of visual arts, or creating art. Maybe you're talking about grades. So you could do a combination of terms if you wanted to do an advanced search, and then they will come up with those. And you can also do different things to limit your results, because there's nothing more frustrating than having 420,000 results and having to wade through them. You want to narrow this down to something that's more realistic. So I hope this helps you. If you have any questions or play with this. You are never going to break it. You cannot break this program. So play with it all you want. And if you have any questions or you want suggestions for searching in different ways or anything like that, please let me know. Okie dokie. Thank you. Bye.